For the materials used in this video, I'll be using nylon cord that is about 2 to 2.3 millimeters thick. I'll use approximately 300 grams in total, and there will still be a little bit left over. We'll also be using soft cotton yarn that is about 1.5 to 2 millimeters thick. You'll need approximately 50 grams. You don't have to use the exact same yarn that I'm using. Feel free to substitute it with any yarn you like. However, I do recommend choosing a yarn that's a little sturdier and holds its shape well, because it will help the bag keep its structure and give it a nicer finished look. As for the nylon cord I'm using in this video, I bought it from a local shop near my home. This brand is much softer than most regular nylon cords, so it's more comfortable to work with and doesn't hurt your hands as much while crocheting. I'm not sure if this brand is available on Shopee. If I can find a link or more information, I'll leave it in the video description below. For the hook, I'll be using a 5/0 crochet hook, which is a 3 millimeter hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and a stitch marker. The only extra material you'll need for this project is a pair of 18 millimeter magnetic snaps. They're a little larger, which makes the bag easier and more convenient to use. I'll list all of the materials and tools in the video description below, so you can easily find them or purchase the same ones if you'd like. Now let's get started with the tutorial. Now let's start by making the base of the bag. First, make a slip knot. Then, chain until you reach the width you want for the base of your bag. For my bag, I'll be making a total of 16 chains. Once you've chained to the width you want for your bag base, we're ready to start round 1. Begin by chaining 1. Then work 1 single crochet into the second chain from the hook. If you're a beginner, I recommend placing a stitch marker in the first stitch to help you keep track of your rounds. Then, work 1 single crochet into each stitch across. For my bag, I'll have a total of 16 single crochets. If you started with a different number of chains, simply make 1 single crochet in each chain across. This is what your first row should look like. From the second row onward, you'll repeat the same steps. Begin by chaining 1, then turn your work. Work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across to the end of the row. This is what your second row should look like. For row 3 and all the following rows, you'll repeat the same steps as row 2. Chain 1, turn your work, then work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across to the end of the row. Keep repeating these same steps until the base reaches the length you want for your bag. There's no set number of rows, so just continue crocheting until you're happy with the size. I'll see you again once I've finished crocheting the base to the length I want. I've now finished crocheting the base to the length I wanted. This is what it looks like at this stage. The finished base measures approximately 25.5 centimeters long and about 9.5 centimeters wide. For my bag, I crocheted a total of 45 rows to reach this size. If you'd like a longer bag base, you can simply add more rows until you reach your desired length. Once you're happy with the size, we'll move on to the next step. Now let's move on to row 46. In this row, we'll be working single crochets all the way around the entire piece. Start by chaining 1 and turning your work. Then work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around the entire piece. Now we've reached the last stitch. In this last stitch, work 3 single crochets into the same stitch. After that, continue working one single crochet into each stitch all the way along the other side until you reach the end. Continue working one single crochet into each stitch until you reach the corner on the other side. In that corner, work 3 single crochets into the same stitch. Then continue working one single crochet into each stitch across. An easy way to remember is that you'll work 3 single crochets into the same stitch at corners 1, 2, and 3. After that, continue working one single crochet into each stitch until you reach the point where we started. I'll meet you back here once you get there. Once you've worked all the way around the piece, you'll notice that each corner has 3 single crochets worked into the same stitch. When you reach the last corner, which is also where we started the round, you would normally work 3 single crochets into the same stitch, just like the other corners. However, for this pattern, I want the total number of stitches around the base to be an odd number. If we work 3 single crochets into this last corner, the total number of stitches around the base will become an even number. So for this corner, we'll only work 2 single crochets instead. We already worked 1 single crochet into this corner at the beginning of the round, so now just add 1 more single crochet into the same stitch. That gives us a total of 2 single crochets in this corner, which is exactly what we want. If you started with a different number of chains than I did, I recommend counting the total number of stitches around the base before you finish the round. Make sure the total stitch count is an odd number, because this pattern is designed to work with an odd number of stitches. Once you've finished the round, the corner where we started will have 2 single crochets, while the other 3 corners will each have 3 single crochets. At this point, the base of the bag is complete. My finished base measures approximately 27 centimeters long and 10.5 centimeters wide. Now let's move on to the next step. Now let's start working on the body of the bag. From this point on, we'll be crocheting in continuous rounds, so there won't be any joining or finishing at the end of each round. For the first round of the bag, work 1 single crochet into the first stitch. This time, insert your hook into the back loop only. Then place a stitch marker in the first stitch to mark the beginning of the round. This will make it much easier to keep track of your rows. After that, continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around the bag. Remember, for this round you'll be working into the back loop only of each stitch. Keep working your way around the bag until you reach the stitch marker. I'll meet you back here once you get there. Once you've finished working single crochets all the way around for the first round, your bag should look like this. Now let's begin the pattern in round 2. Start by working 1 single crochet into the first stitch. Then place your stitch marker in that first stitch, just like before. Next, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Then repeat the pattern by chaining 1, skipping 1 stitch, and working 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Continue repeating these steps all the way around until you reach the beginning of the round. I'll meet you back here once you get there. When you reach the last repeat of the round, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the last stitch. This is what your second round should look like once it's finished. Now let's move on to round 3. If you notice, because we made the total number of stitches around the base an odd number, the pattern lines up perfectly in this round. To begin round 3, chain 1. Remove the stitch marker from the first stitch. Skip the next stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the chain 1 space from the previous round. Place your stitch marker into this stitch to mark the beginning of the new round. This stitch is now the first stitch of round 3. From here, continue repeating the same pattern as before. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the chain 1 space from the previous round. You'll notice that the single crochets are now staggered instead of lining up directly above each other. Just keep repeating the pattern. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the next chain 1 space. You'll notice that the single crochets are staggered instead of lining up directly above each other. That's exactly how the pattern should look. Continue repeating the same pattern all the way around the bag. I'll meet you back here once you finish the round. This is what your work should look like at this point. From here, simply continue working in continuous rounds, repeating the same pattern over and over. For round 4, repeat the same pattern. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the next chain 1 space. Place your stitch marker in that stitch to mark the beginning of round 4. From there, continue repeating the pattern. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, then work 1 single crochet into the next chain 1 space. You'll notice that the single crochets stay staggered rather than lining up directly above each other. That's exactly how the pattern should look. Keep repeating these rounds until your bag reaches the height you want. I'll finish crocheting mine first, then I'll come back and show you how many rounds I worked. I've now crocheted the bag to the height I wanted. The finished height is approximately 12.5 to 13 centimeters. In total, I worked 21 rounds. An easy way to count them is to start right here and count each round one by one. If you'd like your bag to be taller, simply keep repeating the pattern and add more rounds until you reach your desired height. Next, work 1 slip stitch into the next stitch, making sure to insert your hook into the front loop only. After that, chain 2. Make these 2 chains slightly taller than usual. Then place a stitch marker into the second chain. Next, work 1/2 double crochet into each stitch all the way around the piece. For this round, make sure you're working into the front loop only of each stitch. We're leaving the back loops unworked because we'll use them later to crochet the decorative edging on the sides of the bag. So continue working 1/2 double crochet into every stitch, making sure to work into the front loop only all the way around. Continue working all the way around until you reach the last stitch. I'll meet you back here once you get there. Once you reach the last stitch, remove the stitch marker and work 1/2 double crochet into the last stitch. After that, you can fasten off and cut the yarn. To finish off, insert your yarn needle into the second stitch. The first stitch is the chain 2, so remove the stitch marker first, then insert the needle into the second stitch to create a clean finish. Weave in the yarn ends neatly, then gently shape the bag, and this part is complete. Once you've finished, your work should look like this. Next, let's crochet the decorative edging around the outside of the bag, just like the one shown on the screen. To begin, I'll be using the soft cotton yarn. To begin, make a slip knot. Next, we'll start on the side where we joined the round. Insert your hook into the exposed back loop right here, pull up a loop, and then chain 3. Then work 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches, then work 3 double crochets into the following stitch. Continue repeating the same pattern all the way around. Skip 2 stitches, then work 3 double crochets into the next stitch. Continue repeating this pattern all the way around the bag. Skip 2 stitches, then work 3 double crochets into the next stitch. Keep repeating until you make it all the way around, and I'll meet you back here once you get there. Once you've worked all the way around, your edging should look like this. At the end, you'll have 3 stitches left here. If you prefer, you can work 1 more group into those stitches. But for this bag, I'm going to skip those last 3 stitches and join with a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the starting chain 3. This is what your work should look like after completing round 1. For round 2 and all the following rounds, we'll repeat the same steps. Start by working 3 slip stitches to move into the next space. After that, chain 3, Then work 2 double crochets into the same space. The starting chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, so together with the 2 double crochets you just made, you'll have a group of 3 double crochets. Next, skip the next 3 stitches, then work 3 double crochets into the next space. From here, simply repeat the same pattern. Skip 3 stitches, then work 3 double crochets into the next space. Continue repeating this pattern all the way around until you reach the last group. I'll meet you back here once you get there. Once you've worked all the way around and reached the last group, join the round by making a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the starting chain 3. This is what your work should look like after completing round 2. For round 3 and all the following rounds, you'll repeat the same pattern as round 2. Start by working 3 slip stitches to move into the next space. Then chain 3. And work 2 double crochets into the same space. Next, skip 3 stitches and work 3 double crochets into the next space. Continue repeating this pattern all the way around. Keep working the same way until the edging reaches your desired length. A good guide is to fold it over the top edge of the bag and see if you're happy with the width. If you'd like it wider, simply add more rounds. I'll finish crocheting mine to the length I want, and then I'll come back to show you the result. I've now crocheted the outer edging to the length I wanted, and this is what it looks like once it's finished. I worked a total of 10 rounds for the outer edging. If you'd like a longer flap, simply keep adding more rounds until you're happy with the length. Once you've finished, it should look like this. The final length is completely up to your preference. After you've completed round 10, fasten off and cut the yarn. Then we'll weave in all the yarn ends neatly. To create a neat finish, locate the starting chain 3 and the first double crochet. Insert your yarn needle underneath the first double crochet, then bring it back down through the center of the last double crochet. This creates a clean, invisible finish. After that, simply weave in the yarn ends as usual. Once you've finished, your work should look like this. Next, we'll crochet the handles. Before you begin, leave a yarn tail long enough for sewing the handles onto the bag later. Then make a slip knot to get started. Next, chain 2. Then work 1 single crochet into the first chain from the hook. Next, insert your hook into the stitch here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Now you'll notice there are 2 loops here. Work 1 single crochet into both loops by inserting your hook through both of them. Yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Then repeat the same steps. Insert your hook through both loops. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Let's do that one more time. Insert your hook through both loops, yarn over and pull up a loop, Then yarn over and pull through both loops. Continue repeating these same steps until the handle reaches your desired length. The length is completely up to you, depending on how you want to use your bag. You can make it short for a handbag, longer for a shoulder bag, or even longer for a crossbody bag. Just keep crocheting until you're happy with the length, and I'll meet you back here once mine is finished. Once you've crocheted the handle to your desired length, chain 1 and fasten off. When you cut the yarn, be sure to leave a long tail so you can use it later to sew the handle onto the bag. The handle measures approximately 41 centimeters long, but you can adjust the length to suit your preference. Whether you want a handbag, a shoulder bag, or a crossbody bag, simply make the handles as long as you like. You'll need to make 2 handles like this. Once you've finished both, let's move on to the next step. Next, we'll mark the positions for the handles and attach the magnetic snap. To begin, fold the bag in half so it's centered evenly like this. Then find and mark the center point. Next, place a stitch marker at the center point on both sides of the bag. Then use additional stitch markers to decide where you'd like to attach the handles. You can adjust the spacing depending on whether you prefer the handles to be closer together or farther apart. For my bag, I'll place them about here. You can simply follow the placement shown in the video and mark your bag the same way. The handle placement is completely up to you. You can position the handles wherever you like by marking the spots with stitch markers. Once you've decided on the placement for all 4 attachment points, we'll sew the handles onto the bag. Sewing the handles is very simple. We'll use a yarn needle and sew one side at a time. First, position the handle like this. Then sew it securely onto the bag. Here's what it looks like after it's sewn in place. Once you've finished, your handle should look like this. Next, sew the magnetic snap onto the center point on both sides of the bag, just like this. I'll be using the same yarn to sew the magnetic snap in place. I'll finish sewing the snaps and attaching everything, then I'll come back to show you the finished bag.